Martha MacCallum on Fox News decided to engage in this discussion with voters in the state of Virginia. This is during the day that the gubernatorial race is going down between the incumbent, Terry McAuliffe, and the Republican challenger, who unfortunately ended up winning, Glenn Youngkin. And what I really appreciated about this exchange was the discussion on the manufactured culture war surrounding critical race theory. So without further ado, let's hear how this conversation went down.
I don't think people necessarily truly understand what critical race theory is. Younger children are not being taught critical race theory. They can't understand critical race theory. They're being taught history. So when somebody here in Loudoun County, I understand, was upset that his second grade child was taught that Christopher Columbus killed many indigenous people, that's part of history. That is what Christopher Columbus did. So I have a hard time. I think kids have to learn history, the good, the bad, the ugly, so they can become critical thinkers.
I don't think anybody's against that. I think we have to do a fact check on the Christopher Columbus story as well. But critical race theory, I think, sometimes is a little bit of a misnomer, because what's happening is that there's a sort of a reformed thinking and approach to history that teaches that the country was founded in racism. You can say critical race theory is like a legal theory that is found more in colleges. So maybe giving it that label has thrown some people off, but it doesn't mean that there's not things being taught that are teaching kids that they're sort of inherently, victims or oppressors.
I think we'll have to agree to disagree on that, because I have different thoughts and feelings on that.
Is she a straight news person?
Was amazing.
Is she considered one of their straight news people?
Is anyone really a straight news person?
Yeah, I don't know. They literally play Tucker Carlson clips during their straight news hours.
Yeah.
No, that was pathetic. She's like, no, she's destroying our narrative. We gotta save it.
How about, first of all, I'm super proud of the woman in that interview who spoke the truth about critical race theory, how it's not actually being taught in schools, grade schools especially, and more importantly, how it has become a catch-all phrase that's being applied to just normal history that kids should learn, right? And by the way, there was an admission there by Martha MacCallum. Like, she did say the quiet part out loud about how, it is being used to refer to normal history classes that students should be learning, but maybe that's why people are confused. No, it's an intentional strategy. The right wing has successfully engaged in it. Democrats have failed to counter it, in a way that's effective. And I just want to note, you need to fact check what happened with Christopher Columbus and Native American. You need to fact check that.
Well, in her defense, she went to American schools growing up, so she doesn't know. Yeah,
no, but that is a fair point. That is a fair point. Really, we're just gonna erase what happened to Native Americans in this country, and you're on the news, you should have a firm grasp of this country's history. But no,
we have to fact check if Christopher Columbus ever did a genocide. No, they did. They fact checked it. You should know that. Yeah, I agree. Democrats haven't rebutted it. It is admittedly difficult because look what you just saw there. They made kind of a mistake in making it specific that it's critical race theory, which it is not explicitly. Now, many of them will continue to say that, but now they've moved to they're teaching that it was found. They were teaching things that were founded in racism or they're victims, but that's not a specific claim. There is no way to rebut that schools are teaching stuff I don't want, whether they are or not. What they have instilled in their audience is a desire for a school that is a safe space from actual history. I would start with arguing that it hardly seems like a good path that the Republicans want your kids to be dumb. They want your kids to be ignorant of the world and what has happened. But what's going to be persuasive about that? They don't want their kids to know what really happened.
You're right.
That's genuine.
I want to explain what I mean, right? Because my issue with Democrats is that they allow the right wing to set what the issues for debate happen to be during any political race, right? And stop doing that. So I want to go to video A4, okay? This is a video we didn't get to earlier in the show. I think it's an important video because it's a former advisor for a strategist for Mitch McConnell. Okay, so this is a right winger. He's on a CNN panel, and he's commenting on the fact that Glenn Youngkin, the right winger, beat Terry McAuliffe. And I think he actually provides a really great piece of advice for Democrats by really homing in on that race. So without further ado, let's go to this. This is A4.
I was stunned when he handed Youngkin the issue of the campaign. I don't think parents should be involved in the schools. And then literally on the eve of the election, he's running around Virginia with Randy Weingarten, the head of the union that kept the schools closed. It's not just the curriculum issue. The schools were closed. Parents were pissed. They knew they should have been open. And McAuliffe not only handed it to Youngkin on a tee, he then at the end of the campaign flipped everyone off and said, I'm going to even run on it even harder. And it has killed him in these suburbs.
That actually is a fantastic piece of analysis. And what I mean by that is, look, what the right wing did was they took a made up thing, a made up issue, which is critical race theory in elementary schools. And they ran on that. And what Terry McAuliffe did in response was say, and what Republicans also did is they said, look, parents should be able to decide, parents should be able to weigh in on what their kids are learning, right? They made it an issue about personal choices and parenting. And what McAuliffe did in response was just immediately feed into that narrative by saying, no, I don't think parents should. I think that the educators, the actual experts should decide what the curriculum should be. Now, obviously, I agree with that, but that is not gonna bode well with parents, because the way it comes across is, no, parents shouldn't have a say. And that is not a popular opinion. A far better way of handling that is immediately pivoting to, look, the way I would handle it personally is, this is a manufactured issue. Kids aren't even learning critical race theory. This is a graduate level curriculum. But they do want to deflect and distract from the fact that they have nothing to offer you economically. And that's the issue that matters. That's the issue that affects you every single day. Here's what I'm gonna do economically, whatever. But he didn't do that because he didn't have to offer economically.
Yeah. That's sort of an issue. You could make that argument, but he couldn't really. Look, obviously they're put in a difficult position, and they will continue to. Critical race theory is it's the flavor of this cycle. And 2 years ago, not a single one of these people knew what it was. I mean, they still don't, but they're worried about it. It was something else. And in 2 years, it'll be something else. They're not still going to be talking about critical race theory. There is always going to be something like that. It's often not going to be found in reality, which makes actually directly addressing it very difficult and probably counterproductive. You could really dig into the weeds, even acknowledging that it's not being taught. How many that apparently has not gotten through, has it? Or pointing out that you want parents to have a choice in what gets taught. Yeah, you say that, but you don't want them to have a choice if it is that they want history to be taught.
Right, exactly.
You don't actually believe that. You want what you want to be taught, and that's it. And you, by the way, have that option. We have homeschooling in America. If you'd like to produce really ignorant kids, you have always had that option, and you will continue to. Engaging on that culture war battleground is never going to be the best route.
Yes.
And it's always gonna be there, whether it's critical race theory or transgender athletes or bathroom this or Dr. Seuss, whatever. What you have to do is offer something else, something real. And McAuliffe didn't do that. And it seems like the most obvious thing in the world, but that's not a part of the CNN analysis last night. And not just McAuliffe, like sure, he should be campaigning on things, but he's part of a party that has made promises and not delivered on them. So look, would McAuliffe be able to get every one of the crazies shouting at a school board to no longer be activated around that issue? No matter what he said, probably not. But his voters might be excited if they had campaigned on something, something real. And Democrats won't do that.
That's right.
They have no interest in it for the same economic reasons that the right is trying to get you to focus on CRT. They want you to be distracted from your problems and any potential solutions to them. And Democrats are not gonna be able to come up with either a significant response that actually works or their own version of it, and I wouldn't want them to if they could. The Democrats are not gonna be able to come up with absolute nonsense, and by the way, they're not always going to have Donald Trump to run against. That was a very special case in 2020. Eventually, they will have to run on something real.
That's right. That was perfect. You're exactly right about that.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.